A landlord is an individual who is the legal owner of land, a building, or accommodation that is rented or leased to an individual or business, who is called a tenant. While this may seem like a cushy operation, there's a lot going on behind the scenes to make it all possible. Specifically, one's ability to understand and manage their finances, especially income taxes. Landlord income taxes. A common mistake that landlords make when submitting their tax returns is to combine their own expenses and expenses generated from the properties. This is incorrect. The correct tax process is to separate those expenses. Landlords should treat the properties as separate income revenue. As with the majority of taxes, it's your responsibility to ensure you deduct any legitimate costs generated as part of your income. If you don't deduct legitimate expenses, you'll pay extra tax. Not claiming expenses is basically burning your hard-earned cash. The following expenses are legitimate expenses that occur as part of owning, maintaining, and leasing or renting a property. Accounting expenses. Only accounting expenses incurred in preparing rental business accounts, not accounting expenses incurred for preparing personal tax returns. Legal and professional fees. This will include any legal fees incurred in the day-to-day management of your rental property, including the cost of preparing leases and inventories, collecting rent, preparing your tax return for the property or properties, and letting agent charges. Advertising costs. Advertising costs can include everything from agency advertising costs to using a website like Rightmove, newspapers, and so forth. Inventory charges. Most rental agencies will prepare an inventory for you for a fee, which is a legitimate landlord expense. Council tax. Typically, you'll be afforded up to 6 months council tax free, though this has started to vary between regions with new legislations potentially ending this expense. Note that a council tax exemption is typically facilitated through your local council and not reclaimed as an expense during annual income calculation. Many others. There are plenty of other expenses a landlord needs to account for when factoring in their revenue and when doing taxes. This can include everything from gardening services and insurance policies to mortgage interest rates, loan interest, and more. It's safe to say there's a lot to keep track of. Landlord Tax Calculator. Our Landlord Income Tax Calculator is designed for individuals who rent out a property as an additional or sole income, not as a separate business. If you're renting properties as a business, you should use a traditional accountant or online business accounting solution and pay yourself as an employee of the company. The Landlord Income Tax Calculator is designed to be intuitive to use. It's all about making income tax easy to calculate and understand. The calculator allows you to apply expenses to calculate the total expenses you cover as a landlord. First, enter the total annual income from properties. Next, enter each of the expenses generated by your property for the year. See the below guide for information on legitimate property expenses for landlords. Third, the Landlord Tax Calculator will calculate the total annual expenses from properties for you and calculate the total profit from properties. After that, you'll enter your gross income from PAYE employment and other income. And finally, the Landlord Tax Calculator will calculate your gross taxable income and provide a link to the PAYE and tax payments calculation for your gross income to allow you to assess income tax and national insurance payments associated with your gross income. And just like that, you'll have a firm understanding of your income taxes as a landlord. We hope you enjoyed this video. Come by our site to find more helpful resources.